Welcome and thank you for being here. This story is called Come Play With Me. Some time ago, a friend of mine and I decided to do the Ouija board for the first time, something we had never dared to do before. We called 2 other friends to come and do it with us, as I'd been told that it was more likely something would happen if there were more people. We had a hard time convincing the other 2, but in the end, they agreed to come along. We got everything ready and, feeling a bit nervous, got started. During the session, one of the girls we had called to join us said, "This is nonsense. I'm out of here." We got a little scared and decided to leave it for another time. After a few days, the girl who had left called me beside herself. She said that, as she was passing a derelict house near her home on the way back from the local library, a little girl dressed in white had asked to play with her. My friend told her that she couldn't, as she was in a hurry to get home, and immediately the girl began to cry tears of blood. My friend fled, and when she got home, she called me. At first I thought she was pulling my leg, but something told me that was not the case. I began to think about the day we had done the Ouija board, and how abrupt my friend had been when she had got up to leave. I didn't give it much more thought and went to bed. The next day, my friend called me because she was going to be home alone studying, and as she was scared, she asked me to keep her company. I took a bus over to hers and we settled down with our books. After a while, we heard a scratching noise behind us. We both looked up and were horrified to find that the girl she had described to me was sitting on my friend's bed, scratching the wall. We ran out of the room, and when we got to the front door, I noticed that my friend was not there. But I was so terrified I couldn't make myself wait for her. Shortly afterwards, the police called my house to tell me that my friend had died of an asthma attack. She had been found on the stairs of her house with a terrified expression on her face. For several months after that, I was in treatment. I'm now recovering, but the other day, a note appeared in my mailbox written in a little girl's hand that read, "Your friend died because she wouldn't play with me. I have a new doll." I think it's a joke since our story has become famous in our town, but on the other hand, I'm scared. I wonder, will she come for me? The next one is a Japanese urban legend. There was a group of teenage friends, 4 boys and 4 girls, who went to the same high school. One night, they were having a small party in the house of one of the boys. It was after midnight, and the talk soon turned to scary stories. The friends wanted to test their courage by going to a haunted location. They thought it would be fun to scare themselves by exploring a creepy place in the dark. For years, they had heard stories about an old abandoned school that lay on the outskirts of town. Everyone said it was haunted. None of the teenagers actually believed in ghosts, but they wanted to scare themselves, and it seemed like the old abandoned school was the easiest place to explore. One of the girls had a car, so they drove out to the old schoolhouse and parked outside the grounds. The 8 friends decided that they would explore the school in pairs. The plan was for each pair to walk around the school anti-clockwise. It would take about 10 minutes to circumnavigate the school. The first pair would start off, and when they returned, they would tell the others what they had seen. Then it would be the turn of the second pair to walk around the school. The first pair, a boy and a girl, set off as the remaining 6 teenagers waited by the car. After a while, they began to grow impatient. It had been more than 20 minutes, and their friends had still not returned. After 30 minutes had passed since the first pair left, the others got tired of waiting. The next boy and girl decided to walk around the school and look for their friends. The others waited and waited, but the second pair failed to come back. The remaining teenagers couldn't understand what was happening. They began to wonder if their friends were playing a joke on them. It had been almost an hour since the first pair had left. The third boy and girl pair nervously set off to try and find their missing friends. They never returned. The boy and girl who remained behind were very nervous. The girl began to cry, and the boy tried to comfort her. Eventually, the boy said, "I'm going to look for the others. If I don't come back after 30 minutes, go straight to the police." After he left, the girl stood alone in the cold and the dark, weeping silently. She waited an hour, but nobody came back. She got into the car, turned the keys in the ignition, and drove to the nearest police station. 4 police officers accompanied the girl back to the school, and as dawn began to break, they launched a search for the 7 missing teenagers. At first, they couldn't find any sign of them on the school grounds, but then they discovered that the side door of the old, disused school gym was standing open. The police went inside, but it was empty. There was an eerie silence in the air. It was when they looked inside the toilet in the gym that they finally found the missing 7. They were all hanging from the ceiling by their necks. The police questioned the surviving girl, and she swore that she had been telling the truth. The 7 teenagers had gone to the abandoned school to test their courage. They had no reason to commit suicide. However, after spending weeks trying to solve the mystery, the police finally closed the case, saying they could not find any evidence that the teenagers had been murdered. In the end, the incident was explained away as a case of mass hysteria. The police claimed that the 7 teenagers must have been involved in some sort of suicide pact. To this day, nobody in that town will dare to venture out to the old abandoned school after nightfall.